Hi, it's Richard here from Intelligent Advisor IT Consulting with another in our series about the example decision services. This one is called Health Examinations, and it's used to calculate which examinations are needed for children who are, for example, applying for asylum or for a visa. You simply download the JSON file as I've showed you in all these different videos, and then you go to your Intelligent Advisor hub and you import it and you give it a good name so that you'll remember it, and you place it in a workspace. You'll notice that the output takes the form of an object list, so there could be more than one test required, and the input was simply the age of the child. So let's go straight away and take a look at this project now. You can see that there is, first of all, a object list and an object rule which is going to create one or more health tests, and we're going to create a medical examination if you're under 2 years of age or you're between 2 and 10 and so on. If you're between 2 and 10, you'll also need a TB screening test and so on and so on. So depending on the age of the child, you could have a number of health examinations. Now we come to the interpretive rules underneath, which explain how to calculate whether a child is 2 years old or between 2 and 10 and so on. In live mode, you simply type in the age, and you can see that in my case, there are 2 rows here. 2 instances, 2 object rows that have been created. In OPM terminology, it's like saying that I have inferred 2 instances of this entity. And I can then scroll underneath and see all the different variables that have been set to true or false, depending on the age. And as usual in live mode, we have a variety of tool tips to explain to me what's going on. Back in edit mode, of course, now that you've understood the basic structure, the most likely thing you're going to want to do is to edit this or add to it, for example, to create some new features. So I'm going to add a new rule block here, and I'm going to say that this rule block will execute per health examination. And it's going to be a table, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the different types of health examination. In fact, it was already named up here. It's called type. So I'll just use, obviously, the same field name, type. And then I'm going to have the cost of the health examination or the health test. So I'm going to take, for example, some of these. You'll notice that when I copy and paste, because my secondary table only had 2 rows, I only get the first 2 rows of the copy and paste. So if I add now a couple of others, I can go and copy and paste the other 2. Of course, what I could have done is create the 4 rows and do it straight away, but it's just useful to be able to demonstrate how copy and paste works. And I'm going to put in some prices. So here are the prices or the costs of my health test. I'm going to go immediately into live mode, and I'm going to see that in the output section, I can see the type, but of course I can't see the cost. Even though I can see the cost in live mode, it doesn't appear in the output section, as you might expect it to do automatically, but no, it doesn't. In decision services, you have to make sure that whatever it was you want to show up in the output is actually declared in the output. So I'm going to go ahead now and create an output field called the cost of the health test, go back into live mode, and now you'll see that the output includes the cost of, in this case, the 2 tests that are required. So that's a really important point, is that if you want something to be in the contract, you actually physically have to add it to the contract. And we'll demonstrate that again by adding another rule block here, and we'll create a global total cost of all of the tests. And we'll use, old habits die hard, we'll use the sum function, because that's what it is in decision services, and we'll sum the health tests, and the field we want to sum is the cost of the health tests. So we're going to use it just like instance sum, only with slightly different terminology, and we can see, for example, that it still doesn't show up in the output, because although the input is correct, we haven't added the cost of all of the tests as part of our output contract. So although we can see it in live mode, we can see the numbers, it doesn't show up. So we can see 67 in live mode, but it doesn't show up in the contract. If we want it to show up in the contract, we'll need to go to the contract. We're going to add something to the output. I'm going to deliberately do this wrong. I'm going to add this here. and I'm going to add it, and you'll see it says it's in the wrong place, so I need to move it to the top because it's a global attribute. Now I can test it even in rest mode, and you can see that I have it at the top there. It says 67, and I have my global and my child attributes, my child fields. That's it for this time. See you next time. Bye-bye.